Good day, I'm Teresa Fredericks from Growing Businesses Using Projects, bringing you yet another video, this time on Microsoft Excel. I'm assigning resources and calculating task costs, projects budget, and dealing with overallocation issues. I am once again mimicking MS Project using Excel. My intent with this and every other video is to ensure that the ordinary person can understand what is being taught and apply it. Our agenda, we're going to be entering resources on a spreadsheet. We're going to calculate cost and budget. We're going to create changes for effort-driven tasks. We're going to examine the Gantt chart to ensure no overallocation of resources. And we're going to determine the impact of the allocation of resources on the project's budget. We are in the Gantt chart view, but I've created 5 different sheets. There's the Gantt chart view, the resource sheet, the data sheet, resource holidays, and the assignment sheet. So let's start with the resource sheet. Alright, the resource sheet follows the resource sheet of MS Project. What we are looking at is the resource calendar for this project. This particular calendar has Saturdays and Sundays as non-working days, and if there were holidays, it would have had holidays too. It's just that in this period there are no holidays. So I have put in the main work resources, and I am now putting in their vacation leave. Why is vacation leave important? Because when you are assigning resources to a project, you need to know when they are available. So like for instance, if you look at Adam, when you go across here, Adam, he's taking leave on the 8th to the 10th of May. So we have to take that into consideration on working day. So this is the code vacation leave, and this is the coloring for it. We are in the Gantt chart view, and I just want to discuss with you 2 of the columns that have been put in. One, the resources column. Here are the main people resources. That's the person who is going to be responsible for the various tasks, because some tasks have 2 people working on it. For instance, task 1, Adam Wright is responsible. That's the person you go to find out information about the task. And next state is the cost of task 1, 28,440. Now this cost is going to be linked from the assignment sheet. So if there are changes in the assignment sheet and cost, it's going to change here. But right here you can see the cost of the various tasks and the cost of and the amount of money for the entire project. So I just want to point out to you the horizontal bars that reflect the time periods of the various tasks. So for instance, task 1 is 24th of April to the 26th, 24th of April to the 26th. Then task 2 is 27th to 28th. It starts on the 27th, ends on the 28th. So that, and this has been created using conditional formatting. So it could be automatically updated. Before we go further, we need to look at 3 terms: duration, work, and units. Duration, the number of business days it will take to complete a task. So if it's 2 business days and it starts on Friday, it will end on Monday. Work. The work effort is person units, where be it hours, days, weeks, or months given to a task. So if you have 1 person assigned 100% for 2 days, the work is going to be 16 hours. Each day they're going to work 8 hours, so for the 2 days they work 16 hours. And then the last one is units. Total available time a resource gives to a task, measured in percentages. It could also be measured in numbers. So if it's 100%, it means they are working 8 hours a day. If it's 1, it's also 8 hours a day. Now there are 3 key formulas we have to look at. Work, and this is what we're going to use to calculate the cost of the different tasks of our project. Work is equal to duration by assigned units. So if the duration is 2 days, 1 person is assigned 100%, the work is 16 hours. Units, which is the number of resources assigned to a task by the percentage of time given to the working on a task in a given day. So if you have 1 resource and they are full time, the units is 100%. and duration, which is work divided by units. If the work is 16 hours and the unit is 100%, the duration is 2 days. In tables. The first is going to be dealing with all the material resources, and the second with all the cost resources. Why I've done it like that is because when I do the work resources, I want to in each task incorporated all the resources, and the resources may also include material and cost resources. So the first resource we have here, this is the column I did for material cost. You have resources, the type, labor, number, standard rate, and the cost, and how it's accrued. So the paint is a material cost. Its labor is a liter. There are 5 liters. So the cost of the paint is going to be 5 by 120, which is 600. And you have to pay for the paint before you leave the paint shop. Now the cost resources, we have 2 types. We have travel. This travel is associated with a task. I think it's associated with task 1, phase 2. It's a cost resource. And like all cost resource, when it is incurred, you allocate it, so that 450 have been incurred in this particular area, and it's normally entered at the end of it having been incurred. Now, the other cost item is a fixed expenses. There are some projects with fixed expenses that are not necessarily related to a task. So I have put it as a cost resource, and it's $800. I've entered it. So the total cost resource is $112.50. So now, how are we handling work resources? We have the indicator column in case you want to make any entry. Then we have the task column. We have the start date and the finish date. We have the duration, resources, type, whether it be maximum rate, which is maximum availability to the project, standard rate, overtime rate, cost per use, hours worked, costs, accrue, and cost summary. Now, this formula we are using to come up with costs is duration by maximum rate is going to give you the amount of hours worked. So like for instance, Adam, the duration of this particular task, 1 is 3 days. He's 100% available, which means he's working 8 hours a day. So it's going to be 8 by 3, which is 24 hours worked. Your hours worked, it comes like your pay sheet. This is what you have to pay for. And how much you're paying is 24 by 75 because his rate per hour is 75, which is 1800. So let's look at the crane. The crane is an equipment, but equipment is on the work so that it's available 100% to the project. The duration is 3 days, so it is going to be working 8 hours per day by 3 days, which is 24 hours worked. How we get the cost, we're going to look at the rate per hour, which is 1,000 by 24, which will give you 24,000. But there's a cost per use because as you bring the crane on the site, you have to pay a one-time fee of 1,200. So you add 2,400 to 1,200, you get 25,200. And what we are doing as we go along, we are doing a task summary. So that this summary is going to be the cost of Adam, the cost of John, and the cost of the crane, which is going to be 28,440. And the crane, I've put it to pay at the start. You're definitely going to have to pay the cost per use, but you may be able to negotiate paying the daily rate either at the end of the day or at the end of the 3 days. So that is how that particular task is handled. So let us look at another task a little later on that has not only people resources or work resources, but cost and material resources. So we go to task 1. And this task 1, now the reason we put the day start date and finish date is because we don't want to allocate a resource when they're on vacation. So if you go into 4 to 5, you will see there's a comment here, and the comment is John Smith is on leave from the 3rd to the 5th of May. So we know here that we cannot allocate him to work here because he is going to be on leave during this period. So that we have, again, we have 100% availability, which is 8 hours per day. The duration is 2, which is 16. We looked at the formula recently. The cost is going to be 16 by his rate, by her rate in fact, which is 40, which is going to give us 640. Now, but let's just look at how paint is handled. Remember I told you we had calculated paint up front, so that it is now going to be fitted in because it's against this particular task. So you're going to have paint as a material cost, and it's $600 and it's paid for at the start. And then we have travel expenses, which is also a cost item, and it's $450. So the total cost of task 1 is $640 plus $1280 plus $600 plus $450, which is $2970. Summing, this subtotal of tasks is summing the cost of phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and that comes up to $48,900. Now we are putting in the fixed cost. When we looked at task 1 that had cost items, we only allocated the travel expenses because that was related to task 1, phase 2. But now we have this additional fixed cost, we're going to add it in, and we get a subtotal of all costs, which is $49,730. And we're now going to put a contingency allowance of 10%, so our total budget is $54,703. Now we have all the costs in this assignment sheet, and we want to transfer it to the Gantt chart view. So we're going to go to the Gantt chart view, and if we want to transfer it to this column here, we put equal, and we're going back to the assignment sheet, and task 1, the task cost is 28,440 notes. So we click on it, put enter, and when we come back here, we realize it's transferred. This is how the cost column was done. The cost of each task was transferred here. And why it is important to do it like that is because if any of these figures change, you're automatically going to get an update, and you don't have to go and recalculate anything. We are in the Gantt chart view again. And when we look at the Gantt chart, we're realizing that we have also the duration of tasks. Like for instance, task 1 starts on Monday the 24th, ends on the 26th, and you can see it here in this grayed area. Normally I would have colored this red, but if you color it red, you're not going to be able to see that a note was inserted in it. So like, how do you get the note? For instance, you get into the cell and you actually going down to insert comment, and you're going to write in a comment. So this is what was done in these cells. For instance, now I have resources Adam. When you look at here, Adam Wright, John Smith, and a crane, which is equipment. So you're actually going to insert these notes that are going to tell you what are the resources with respect to the different tasks. So that you can actually now go back and make sure where you have overlapping parallel tasks running that you don't have the same resource and could cause over allocation of resources. That is how you do it. So you're actually writing in on the task line the various resources and ensuring that you are not like, now we have finished the start, but for instance, if this task had started here, it means that we could not necessarily allocate the same resource 100% here and 100% here. You would have over allocation of resources. So that is how it is handled. If, for instance, you had a task, the two tasks parallel, what you can do to avoid the over allocation is put them finish the start and not have them run parallel. So in my allocation of resources and how you improve on the allocation of resources, this is another video I have. I would give you some of the ways that you can actually resolve over allocation of resources. Of course, I have to repeat that before we assign resources, we should check the project's duration. And having assigned resources and decided what will be effort driven or not, we're going to go back again to check and see if any changes took place. If you like my content, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Good day.